Now you got to win these next 4 games. There are no excuses, guys. This is it. It's like John Jansen told me last week, Michigan's former All-American. Every game is a playoff game now, and these are bad playoff teams that you're playing. Northwestern's improved, but you're going to be playing in front of a ton of Michigan fans at Wrigley Field. Maryland, you're going to be playing in front of a ton of Michigan fans. That's maybe somewhat dangerous because it's a trap game before Ohio State, whatever, but got to win these 4 games, give yourself a chance. Imagine, guys, how electric that will be after Thanksgiving if you're going into Ohio State with a chance to share a Big Ten title, or at least to make the Big Ten championship game, rather.
Yeah, if you win the next 4, it's a good season, in my opinion. You can make it a great season if you beat Ohio State and get into the playoff, or maybe even you find yourself in Indy for the Big Ten championship. But with the schedule you had, right? If John Borton wrote about this, I think after the game, about how and I'll alter it a little bit, like, because he said if Michigan would have played Paycheck U instead of Oklahoma, then they're 6-1, and you're looking at things differently. Even though they had to go down to one of the toughest places in the country to play, and Oklahoma was playing really good football back then, and John Mateer was healthy, and they were coming out as one of the best teams in the country, and they still are, a top 13 team. I think that's where they stand right now. If you play Boston College, like Michigan State did in their Power 4 game, and they win in overtime in East Lansing, and now you look at Boston College, and Boston College is 1-6 and 0-4 in the ACC, then you're also 6-1, and you look at things differently. So the schedule is what it is. It's lighter in the back half. You have to take advantage of that for it to matter, and Michigan has a chance to do that. But going back to Bryce, just think of this, too. The first play of the game was just kind of a weird throw, came out of his hand weird. So if he should have been 25 of 27, it was really like 25 of 26 after that play. It was like as good as you can play if you're a freshman, right? You're not going to be able to do everything out there, but, the scrambles were good. The one where he got out of there and there was all sorts of pressure. The 3rd and 11, there was a bunch of pressure in his face thanks to Giovanni El-Hadi getting beat. So I just think that if you can get him better during this stretch of games, and then he's a different player come Ohio State, you got a shot to do whatever this year. Not win it all probably, but you at least be in the playoff where, Ohio State was in the playoff last year. Everyone said this program's dead and it's going to be all Tennessee fans up here. And they ended up, going on an unbelievable run. Not saying Michigan's going to do that, but you get in that 12 team and there's so much parity in college football. Look what, Kirby Smart said it over the weekend, that we can't win by as much as we did in these games as we used to. They have to win different ways now. They win by 8 against Ole Miss, a team they would have killed, even though Ole Miss is good, a few years ago. But it's not the same. The talent is more spread out. So, yeah, you're going to take a loss or two, but you can't freak out. You have to regroup. And Michigan did that last week coming off the USC game. Now they got to keep the momentum rolling.
Playoffs changed everything, right?
Yeah. The portal too, and NIL. Like, I can transfer freely now, and I have people calling me, telling me they're going to pay me money to do so. And then the playoff as well. And it's who's healthy, who's hot at the right time. What matchup did you get? Look at Penn State. Look at Notre Dame. It's just different. It's a different sport. It's college basketball. It's the NFL. Kirby said it's the NFL on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's not quite the NFL. Where, like, the NFL, like, on a given week, the Kansas City Chiefs could play a terrible game, and in the vacuum of that 1 week, it doesn't matter because the
refs won't let that happen, Anthony.
Well, the refs won't let that happen, and we don't need to get back into that either. But you have to you got to be able to flush these losses quickly now.
Yeah. Because
look at Alabama with their opener against Florida State. Yeah. Florida State's now lost 4 in a row. They're 3-4. They're talking about paying Mike Norvell's buyout now. Michigan, the USC game, that was alarming just because it looked so much like a lot of these other losses have in the 20 games that Sharon Moore's been there. But you can have the result. You don't want to have the result, but if you have the result, you better be able to flush it and get after it quickly because, every week's kind of its new unique challenge now in this new college football. So any other thoughts from over the weekend before we get into Sharon Moore?
I'm just happy for them. All the talk about finger pointing and what I said on the message board, I said, you can hear about all this locker room stuff, and it's because of the internet era and everything else, things that you would not have heard 25 years ago, that because they were behind closed doors, guys leaving the team, guys getting into fights, so on and so forth. But then if you rectify it during the week and you win, it all goes away, and you didn't know about it. You weren't any wiser for it. So I said, hey, it's going to depend on what happens on Saturday as to where this team is. Don't listen to all the crap, the distractions in the building. You don't want to hear it. Maybe a couple guys were held out for it. There have been some rumblings that maybe some of these injuries weren't exactly injuries. Maybe some guys were held out. We haven't confirmed that, but would it surprise me? No. And all that matters is winning, guys, and going forward. They looked together to me, and they looked happy at the end of the game. That was a happy locker room. These guys look still like there's some chemistry there. So, and it keeps the excitement of the season going now. It's unbelievable that if you look at the schedule compared to next year's, what they have an ability to still accomplish here with a young team. And by the end of November, guys, this team is not going to be quite as young. You're going to have a lot of guys with games under their belt. Blake Frazier, in my opinion, is going to keep that left tackle job. He's going to run with it. And you got a couple young guys, him and Jake Guarnera, by the Ohio State game, are going to have played a lot of football. Andrew Marsh now is already becoming a standout at wide receiver. He's going to have a ton more games under his belt. So I'm excited. Just get to that Ohio State game at 9-2, guys, and watch those guys pee down their legs a little bit. This team looks a little bit different, but just get there and give us a chance here, and that'd be fantastic.
Just watch it snow or watch them get the flu, or that's what you mean by that. But no, I mean, you bring up a great point about just like the internet era. And me and Anthony were talking about this at the game on Saturday, that even the exhibition basketball game on Friday night, which I know we'll talk about, you didn't used to see those. Those were secret scrimmages that, they ended in 100-100 tie. I was joking about that. And then it's funny, the game ends up going 198. I was like, it actually might be 100-100 tie here, because they weren't going to overtime. So, but then you watch it and you're like, oh, well, Michigan turned it over 20 times. They didn't get rebounds, although they didn't have their big men. They couldn't get a stop. I mean, literally could not get a stop. There were a million fouls. It was clunky, whatever. But it's only because we saw it. Like, I'm not going to draw big conclusions from it, because we saw it. We wouldn't have seen that in years past, and we wouldn't have thought anything of it. And it would have been November 3rd. We would have showed up to the first game, and then you start making your judgments, and then you have 30 whatever games, hopefully 40 games to judge. But it's just funny, like, access, can kind of cloud your judgment of what's going on, or your view, or your perspective. So if you're just watching on Saturdays, right, it was brutal for Michigan one Saturday ago. Great for them the next Saturday. Again, just keep the ball rolling. Now, Sharon Moore, I almost said Jim Harbaugh, but Sharon Moore talking about getting complacency out of there, making sure that they stay with that urgency that they have. Because like you said, Chris, this playoff time here came early, unfortunately, because you lost 2 games, but it's playoff time, so you got a shot.
And you have a young roster now where you get to build, not only you're building equity in the now and what you could be by the time that last game rolls around, but there were a couple times where you're looking on the field Saturday and going, there's a lot of guys out here right now that aren't just only going to be here next year. They'll probably be here in 27 too. Some of them even into 28, that's incredibly exciting. And the only way to learn how to win and to win, learn how to win these big games is to win them, to go out and play well and give it your best effort.